Let me start this thing over. All right. That'll work. Cool. We should be live. This is the first one, what, in 3 weeks? I've been on vacation, so we'll see how it goes. I think I remember how to do this. If you're watching on YouTube or I guess Twitch, do people watch VODs on Twitch? Let me know in the comments on YouTube, I guess, or in Discord. I don't think there's any comments in Twitch. That was a joke. I promised myself I'd stop trying to be funny on these things. Be a little bit more businesslike. We'll see how that goes. I've already fucked it up. Anyway, if you're watching it, thank you. If it's your first time watching, I would suggest you probably skip ahead a bit, or maybe go check out some of the other like VODs, or the VODs that Keith has snipped down. You'll see shorter VODs, I think, on our channel, or you can go check them out on his original Mandrake Farms channel. Gives you little snippets, lets you know what you're in for. Everybody else, welcome back. And today we're going to do a little bit of work, but I've also got the feeling that we're going to be doing a little bit of just catching up with each other and screwing around and saying hi and all that good stuff. But I've got database work open for me to sort of poke at in the background today. So when I'm not chatting with folks, I can do that. I was just typing up a feature request for Ali, and Ali said Gary might be into it, so I put him on there as well. But basically the feature request is for us to provide support for using multiple trigger words in a way that's, I think, a little bit more flexible for us on the design side. Because I noticed when I was hailing a guard and trying to see if our old point of interest direction system was working, it reminded me of when I first set that up, that I couldn't use the same word in multiple like trigger phrases. So, Dark Inside, hey, good morning. You got a job at the Cineplex Theater? Are you amped? When do you start? How have you been? Oh, interesting. This thing doesn't update if I've got it minimized. Basically, I was trying to find a way to show you what music was playing, but it's kind of set up hacky, so it's not that great. So I don't know if I'll keep using it. Hey, Dram, what's going on, dude? You start online training this week, and you're so excited. You've been really good. Been really into playing Conan Exiles lately. Nice. Well, congratulations. What kind of jobs are going to be? Online training is great. I'm glad to see that more and more training, and well, just more and more access to information in general over the last 10, 15, whatever, 20 years, which has been pretty cool. I spend a lot of my free time just trying to learn shit, whether it be related to the garden or brushing up on things like land navigation, or honestly, over lunch I was looking into how to grow lion's mane mushrooms. The wife and I will probably be doing that in the garden, especially as it gets towards fall. Cash register, but you're also going to be working concession? Nice. Hey, Tyron. Yeah, it's nice that folks can get back to the theater now. I lived in Stockholm for 2020. That was our last year there, and so we were still able to go to the theater and stuff. So that was pretty rad. It wasn't until I moved to Germany that I realized I kind of missed it. Okay, so what was I doing? Oh, I was just checking this for the thing that I was writing up. But what I really need to do is I am going to spend the morning catching up with you guys and putting pants on NPCs. I'm getting tired of looking at NPCs and their jockstrap. So,
hey Shawn, welcome back.
Hey Kronos, thank you for 8 months. Database editing is painful? No, database editing is relaxing and soothing. Database is my special place. Not really so much on this project. Don't try to call me out for lying. It will be. It will be. I need to get in here and actually get some shit done. But in the past, it's been that place you can go and just sort of get stuff done. So you're looking at like an abridged version right now. I'm basically just going to be going through here. I reduced it to the columns that I needed. And to be honest, with the way that these columns worked, I wasn't quite sure which texture was robe, which texture was legs, which texture was boots. It may say in Confluence. I probably should have searched Confluence. If it doesn't say it in Confluence, I should probably put it in Confluence. But ideally, we'll probably create a better interface to this data. It sounds like Keith, who is a new addition to our team. Welcome, Keith. Added like right before I went on vacation, or right as I was entering vacation. He was doing the Mandrake farm stuff. So he's actually very excited about programming tools, and we'll probably then take what we've got in the editor, which is we've got this means of visualizing this data, and then it sort of gives us a string to copy and paste. The visualizer and the database should just become one thing. So I'm sure something like that may appear later. But for now, you're just going to see me, or maybe not, maybe I'll move it off screen. You're going to see me, speaking of Keith, maybe sitting here while I paste on the other monitor. Nah, you know what, you can look at me paste. Hey Nicodemus, thank you sir. Keith, thank you for 4 months. You know you don't have to do that. I was just talking about your love of making tools. What is that noise outside? Probably people just being silly. Oh. That wasn't what I wanted. Let me go in here, copy this. I'm just gonna give everybody the same outfit right now. I've just done a very, very simple query.
Hey, been a while. Hope you're well.
Hey, Golden Gloves. Thank you for 9 months. Good to see you. Yeah, it's been 3 weeks. Oh, yeah, thank both of you guys, Tyron, Dark Inside, for the compliments on the update. Yeah, update's looking good. I was out not really having a vacation. Belfaster, thank you for 10 months. Our vacation basically lasted all of 2 days and completely went off the rails. So, yep. That's what happened. We got to Austin. Went out, grabbed a couple of beers near the hotel. woke up bright and early, very responsibly. Like we stayed up until like bedtime in Texas. Even though I didn't sleep on the flight, I tend not to sleep on flights, especially if they've got alcohol. So we stayed up responsibly, went to bed at a normal bedtime in Texas, woke up the next day, went ahead and got working on the storage room. For those of you that aren't following my Discord, my sort of stream Discord where I just kind of bullshit around and not directly related to the game, so I'll post stuff in there that I don't think is needed in Eminem's Discord or probably wanted or whatever. So my Loving Robot Discord, if you go there, you'll see I posted a bunch of pictures of just some of the random shit that I found from the EverQuest days in my storage room. So anyways, to continue the story, we were responsible, got up early. I took Jasmine to get some breakfast tacos. Tiran, thank you for 11 months. Breakfast tacos at a taco place near there, Taco Deli, because I wanted her to get some of the authentic Austin experience, and I know it's maybe not the best breakfast tacos, but I'd been there before, and it was near the hotel. Anyways, we get in, we do a nice job of like really powering through the storage room, reward ourselves by, you know, once it becomes sort of the right hour, going and getting some getting a couple of drinks at Yellow Jacket. Then we go watch some live music at Whitehorse and had a good time. Got back to the hotel. The AC's like, we're not used to air conditioning, so it's like super cold. So it's hot as hell, you know, not really, it's normal Texas heat. I won't complain about that, but like for us, it was actually pretty hot. She was amazed. She was like, wow, 40 degrees is a lot when we're used to like 25, maybe 30. And so the AC just sucks. And it's like, it was a cheap hotel near where we needed to do all of our stuff up in North Austin near the Domain. And so it wasn't necessarily the best. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best hotel. And so it's like just a little wall unit air conditioning. So wake up the next day with a crazy sore throat. I'm like, oh man, I think it's because I was talking so much when we were watching the country music and blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, went a little too hard yesterday. Just kind of feel a little bit out of it. Sore throat. She woke up sore throat as well. Yeah, you know where this is going. So then we're just like, Ishiwatari.
TV babes of Norath calendar PLS.
One of these days, I think everything that's in the storage room will probably be for sale, but it's in a much smaller storage room now. So, but it's still in Austin. But thank you for 19 months, Ishi. The Big Brew, thank you for the follow. So yeah, Golden Gloves, you know where the story's going. So basically, we're not feeling 100% on that third day. So we're like, all right, let's make sure, you know, better safe than sorry. If we both got these really weird sore throats and we're feeling a little weird, because the next stage of the vacation was supposed to be we spend a few days in Austin, get the storage room figured out, get some bank stuff and some other stuff sort of wrapped up that I got to do in person there, and then hop on a plane, go down, spend the next basically week with my parents divided between the two, and then we hit the lazy river and drink some drinks at Volcano Bay for a day or two, and then we fly back out, right? So that was the plan. And that plan consisted of us also not necessarily paying for a hotel, right? For the second week, because we're going to be with my parents. Are we saying we had 0 beers in the lazy river? No. Had we made it to the lazy river, we would have had mini beers that day, but not on the lazy river, but going in and hopping back out. So anyway, what wound up happening is we took a quick test for the Ronas. Both came up. Hey, Isan. Good morning, sir. And thank you for your continued support. I saw that while I was away. 17 months. So anyway, we wound up with both coming up hot on our quick tests. So then we so we're like, shit, because my mom's like super paranoid, and then she's like, oh, you got to see the grandma. She's, my grandmother's in her 80s, and then my other grandmother is staying with my father, right? And so we're like, all right, well, we need to be legit and get actual tests. And so Jasmine's she's a dental surgeon, so she's constantly taking these quick tests at work. And she was like, I've never had one just come up just instant positive like that. So it's like, all right, so jump through some hoops, find a testing station, get a test, and by that point we're like, pretty sure we know what this is going to say. But anyway, we wind up waiting. By 10 that night, we are like, we get the results back, and it's like, yay, you both are positive. So we had already planned to basically move to a hotel by the airport, in preparation for an early flight out. So we switched to that hotel. We, whatever, put our masks on, blah blah blah. Get to that hotel. And then realize they don't have Uber Eats, and we're like, we've decided, well, we're going to quarantine ourselves long enough to either be compliant with CDC and get on our flight to wherever, and maybe get a couple days with my parents, or just sort of wait for a negative or whatever. So anyways, we realize we're stuck in a hotel for a few days. And so, we get down there and they're like, there's no food support here. So we spend one night there. It was a decent hotel, but no food. Go back up to a different hotel and then spend the next, basically 4 days, 3 days in that hotel. And the fun part is we used Expedia to set the whole trip up, and Jasmine did so much work. She did so much work. It's incredible how much work she did setting up this trip and trying to make it perfect. And she had used Expedia. And 4 weeks before the vacation, Expedia is like, hey, your flight back from Florida to Germany is canceled, but don't worry, we're going to get you a new one. And so she had been on them the whole time, like, hey, flight. And they're like, oh, crazy season, so many cancellations. Don't worry, we got your back. Don't worry, we got you. Don't worry, we got you. So we're sitting in a hotel now. Basically, our days are just disappearing into hotel land in Austin. At that point, at some point, we're kind of like, all right, we're not clearing positive yet. CDC recommendations, blah blah blah. Doesn't look like we're going to wind up being able to make it down to Florida anyway. So we're like, we'll see about getting a flight from Austin back to Germany. We'll end the vacation soon. But Expedia never got a flight from Florida to Germany set up, and so basically they let us know the day before we 2 days before we would have had to leave, or 3 days before we would have had to leave, sorry, there's no flight. And so we had to book an entirely new flight last minute from Austin to Germany, which was just a hilarious 26 hours of being awake and jumping through hoops. It was, I'm not complaining at all. It was just one of those slapstick comedy kind of days where it was 4 flights. And so we land at one place, and in theory, we've got an hour. I think we had an hour in Chicago to get from one terminal to the other. And Jasmine's stressing out, and I'm like, babe, just look at your watch every once in a while. Just check your watch if you start to feel stressed, count the time. And realize when you're standing in a line like that, and it's a deep security line or something, you lose track of time and you think it's much longer than it is. But I've gotten in the habit of just always, I'll check the time and try to maintain a positive disposition. And it's just okay, well, it's only been 3 minutes, right? People are losing their shit behind us, and people are losing their shit in front of us. And we get through, we go basically straight through the gate, straight through security, straight onto the plane. We had and then the plane's late, and we only had an hour and 20 minutes when we get to Stockholm to switch and basically get on another flight. And so we're 30 minutes late, But then when we get to Stockholm, the flight's like, for whatever reason, like delayed 3 hours or 2 hours. So we just chill, get some coffee. And then from Stockholm to Hamburg, and then Hamburg, we hop on a train and come back. The recovering from COVID part of it, Kronos, honestly, I had a sore throat for 2 days. That was it. I had a sore throat and like a little bit of like, not feeling good, body aching. That was it for 2 days. Jasmine had a cough for like 2 weeks or whatever. But, you know, we also have different statuses and stuff, so we think maybe that was it. I'm one of those stubborn people that just takes vitamins and shit. So it was nothing for me. But I appreciate it. Yeah, it was super chill. Let me catch up. Decor, thank you for the follow. Esan, sorry for not responding sooner. I was in my mode. Your way as well. Truly training on the 100-mile wilderness portion of the Appalachian Trail, so happy to catch a stream on a recovery day. Rainy day, 72 degrees. I forget what 72 converts out to here. 72, what is that? Is that like 20 degrees? Somebody look it up, I guess. It's been very high 90s last week. Yeah, man. So I forget. Are you still training? For some reason, I thought you'd already done a 100-miler this year. 22C. Okay. First time getting it? No, I got it. I assume March of 2020, and I was in Germany. I had like bad sweats, but I thought it was because I was just drinking so much. We were there for Valentine's weekend and hanging out with some of Jasmine's friends. And oh, you do the 100-miler a lot, still training as your job for 2024. Oh, tight. Okay, yeah, I misunderstood. Nicodemus, thank you for your generosity. Sacrilege, you got a gifted sub. Badass. But yeah, so I got it in 2020, I'm pretty sure. Came back from just like bad sweats and feeling super weird or whatever in Germany. Got back to Stockholm when everything was first popping off. And what I thought I was sick, and then by Monday I'm like, I feel better again. And I went to train. I went to the gym, was working with my trainer, and I was like, during the warm up, I was like, I can't get any damn air. Like I'm not out of breath or whatever, but no matter how hard I breathe, I just don't feel like I'm getting enough air. Like I just don't feel like my muscles are getting energy. And so, all right, well, shit, take a break, you know, whatever. And then that sensation of not getting air, and you know, some like sweats and this and that lasted for about 2 weeks. And during that, we called the number that you call in Sweden to be like, hey, we're sick. They've got like a nurse number that sort of sets you up. And I was just like, it just, felt like something was sitting on my chest, really. And I recovered. Oh, anyways, called the nurse number. They're like, hey, well, don't come in. Call your general practitioner. Call general practitioner, like, absolutely do not come in here. Because nobody knew what was going on, right? And like, they're like, basically call the emergency clinic. And so the emergency clinic said, did you travel? I was like, yeah, Germany. And they're like, if you are not coming back from China, then we won't accept you. So I was like, I got a coworker that just came back from China. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Germany was just starting to pop off as well. So anyway, it sucked for a week or so, and then I got better, and then I just was like kind of out of breath for a few more weeks. And yeah. And then after that, I have not had a single sickness beyond just some allergies here in 2 years. And so when this hit in when this hit, when we were there, I mean, it wasn't like a big shocker. Jasmine's been waiting. She deals with patients all the time, and her coworkers have gotten it a few times now, like a couple times each and stuff. And it's just like, so yeah, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a shocker. But we loaded up on vitamins, and we had a Whole Foods near where we were at. We were in Austin, so we you know, we couldn't properly quarantine, but we did the, you know, put on a mask and be careful and go in and stocked up on all our supplies and went back to the hotel and just got Uber Eats. But we have shitload of vitamins and everything else, and yeah, so this one was not a biggie. And then here I've just, did we make it to Florida? We did not make it to Florida. We basically spent we spent our entire vacation of like a week and change in a hotel or a couple of hotels in Austin and flew back to Germany, and that was that. My parents were super disappointed, but I was also kind of like, yeah, beers on the lazy river would have been nice. Jasmine's really disappointed. Parents are really disappointed, but shit happens. What I told Jasmine was, you know, for all the years that we've been together, we've gone on so many cool little vacations, so many camping trips, and traveled to the US once before. You know, we've just been on so many little vacations, and they've all been perfect. They've been perfect, right? She does such a good job of setting up the itineraries and getting everything lined up, and we've had so many just really cool vacations. I'm not gonna, you know, piss and moan just because we got scratchy throats for 2 days, and, you know, by following the rules, we sort of, I guess, did the right thing, air quotes, and just sort of head back. I told my parents next time, before we fly to the US, because you never know, it's a dice roll if you're gonna get the Ronas. I was like, you gotta sign a contract saying that you're gonna suck it up and just get the Ronas with us. We're gonna bring it to you and infect you, I guess. Otherwise, we can't commit. We can't commit. I know it's harsh, Mom and Dad. These are the days that we live in. So how are you guys for 3 weeks? I'm gonna stop all my. This thing I set up to show you guys what music we're listening to does not work because it doesn't update if it's minimized. So I'll have to figure out a different widget for you guys. But I wanted to be able to at least give you a little bit of indication as to when we're listening to our music and when I'm listening to like RuneScape's music. Metallica, yeah. The breeding thing is rough. The Big Brew is just grinding some EQ. What server are you on? Yonek? Word. Yeah, could have sworn, wasn't it Yellow-Neck that we hopped on to most recently? I'm always excited to hop in and see like newbies running around whenever a new TLP comes out. But I think the only new server that I could honestly see myself committing to, I'm entering all this data. I'm not actually checking my work. I should probably do that. Decor says they're on Yelly as well. You might know each other, Big Brew. You guys should link up. Oh, I should show off my photos of my EQ stuff in storage sometime on stream. I might do that. We can do that today, maybe. I almost feel like I need to delineate between like working on M&M stuff and bullshitting streams, but I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever not be bullshitting. So I guess that's not a good plan. But the streams just started out as like a Loving Robot streams, and they're mostly focused on M at this point. So, but I think you guys know what you're getting into. Oh, you do know each other. Okay, cool. Isan, I wouldn't be too worried about it, buddy. Bullshitting is NWC workplace culture at this point. Fair point. Let me repop. Let me see how many people are still in their jock strap. I just got honestly, I got tired of looking at jock straps on NPCs. Hey, fecal finger painting. I missed you too. I hope you had a nice 3 weeks. Yeah, so I tell you what, I can bring up... Can probably bring up... Will there be a limited edition jockstrap for supporters of M? What? No, probably not. Of all the wacky shit that we've talked about and will be honoring, getting into the merch store, I don't know if jockstraps will be one of them. The Big Brew. Well, thank you very much. The team's constantly cranking. It's great. Do you follow any of the other streamers? You should. I shouldn't call them streamers. We're not streamers. We just happen to stream. I think there's a weird connotation there. Do you follow any of the other folks who stream? Any of these people? You should. How did you find out about us? Let me see if I can... It's gonna be... I'm gonna have to admit that I'm behind. Like if you see my Discord, you'll see that I'm super behind on everybody's little Discords and stuff, so no offense. Channels, if you got unreads. Cool. So that's actually that's a good idea. You're on top of things, Keith, when it comes to the good ideas for the stream. We'll see if this actually works for you. So this was our favorite hotel room. So this was our one night out. A lot of fun. You can see we're having fun. This was the coffee drink that Justin Beard recommended that we try out. So I tried it out. It was delicious. I could definitely see putting on like 40 kilos if I had a Starbucks here and could drink those all the time. Here's our gigantic... It was weird. We got this hotel room. It was like normal price. This is only half of it. It was so huge. Which was, you know, if you're going to be stuck in a hotel room for days and days, might as well have a big one. Alright, on to business. I found a couple copies of EQ Atlas. What is that? A TV for ants? Oh, you found Eminem through other streamers and surfing the web during one of your mini EQ farms. Nice. That's what we'd like to hear. So EQ Atlas, I think I've got a couple copies of it. I don't know if that one was completely closed. It may actually be, which would be kind of dope. Open original, make it chunkier, but then I've got a the problem is, okay, you know what I'll do? I'll reverse this. I'll put Discord over here. I'll keep clicking on these things. You can see Shadows of Lucklin Japanese edition. That's kind of neat. Orangequake said, hey, YouTube recommended me the video where you react to Josh's content. Curious to follow your MMO's progress. Oh, super cool to have you here. Thank you. And Esan, thank you for your generosity again. 5 community gift subs. Sinister, Thraza, Morphnite, Nicodemus, Arthens. I think that's everybody. Very cool of you. Congrats. Orangequake, I'm pretty sure that video that you saw was Keith's fault. Keith here put that together. So thank you, Keith. Your videos worked wonders. So anyway, here's the first. Is that another, I think, Japanese edition? Is it? No, if it's Gamania, that's from when we did the joint venture with Gamania, which I think, was that when we were, because I don't think, so Gamania was is a Taiwanese gaming company, and like gaming media, gaming everything sort of company. And we worked with them on some stuff, and I wasn't sure if they were trying to get us into Taiwan here or if they were helping us get into Korea. Anyways, that was like 2002, 2003. This picture's upside down. Thank you, Discord. More Ubisoft. So that looks German. No, is that German? That doesn't seem like German to me. Seems like one of those close to Germans. No. Anyway, foreign copies. Esam, we appreciate all of the support. You've been a diehard for a long time. Dutch. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. With the D's in there. The Dutch are rad, man. Proud of the Dutch farmers. You go, guys. Anyways, EverQuest Japanese edition official guide. It's like this thick. I probably should have like opened it up and took some inside pictures, but I could have sworn it's super thick. What did the EQ player base look like outside of the US? I honestly don't remember very well. I felt like it didn't take off in Asia at all, really. The European, I mean, we had enough support for a couple of servers and stuff, but let's see. I'll do this the quick way. I'll just move this over here because you don't need to see it all that big, right? Like, it's not that interesting. But just to prove that you guys, I'm not bullshitting. I was a game master. Oh, I found my original contract as well. I don't think I took a picture of it. But I found my original contract, and whoever said, I think it was like Ryan Barker who said that, because I was like, I think we only got paid like $6 an hour in Southern California, which was hard or whatever. He was like, no, I thought it was more than that. He was correct. It was $9 an hour. So sorry, Sony, for trying to make you sound cheap. You did us pretty okay. And then, so I was game master. See, I really was the GM of Talon Zek for a little bit. I've got so many of these badges. I just picked like 3. Oh, and it's fun too because this was which E3? No, I only went to E3s in LA. All my E3s were LA. But Variant SOE back in the day. There's Talon Zek, April 6th. Wish I had the year on it. And here's my Planes of Power San Francisco Fanfare badge. I had so many Fanfare badges sitting there. Shawn Lloyd, lead designer for expansions at Sony. Yep. There we go. So those are not, I really did, I swear I worked there. Open original. I really wish you would open original into this window. Quit jerking me around. Brave. Armed and Deadly, the Babes of Champions. And then the Babes of Norath. You guys, you got to realize our marketing department was almost entirely female. So when people are like, how dare you? Wasn't our idea. Was not our idea. The team had 0 input. Oh, this is all from Champions of Norath anyways. So, there you go. Wasn't even. Oh, I fixed it. Old Harley gas tank. What's some of the stuff in the background? AC/DC tablature book. The original sort of drawing of my tattoo on my ribs. German cookbook. Realms of Norath, Freeport. Honestly, if I had just ability to carry more shit with me, I probably would have loaded all this stuff up and brought it with me. Everfrost. Monsters of Norath. Lucklin. Also known as Lucelin if you're Canadian. Alcabor's Arcana. A motorcycle tank? Yes. Yeah, I had a little Sportster before I moved. A buddy of mine took it to California to keep it safe, and it was just leaking oil everywhere, so I let him sell it. It's one of my dad. My dad had a little Sportster that he didn't ride anymore, so when I was in Austin, he was like, hey, if you fix this thing up, you can have it. So I wound up putting more money into it than it would have cost to buy it, but it was fun to tool around on. My dad's side of the family is like Harley forever. My dad rode with a motorcycle club when he was in Germany even, which is its own fun set of stories if you haven't heard those before. Befallen. What is this one? It's covered up. Force of Fadar? Anyway, Player's Handbook. Oh, here it is, not covered up. And it is, in fact, the Force of Fadar. Befallen has a backstory. It probably had a minimal backstory, and then a lot of the lore that you'll find in these books was actually created at the time of the book's creation. Which isn't meant to take anything away from that lore. It's, you know, lore's lore, it's good. You guys, you don't realize how little lore we were actually working with when we were working with EverQuest. Like, when we got on the team, we would dig in every folder that we could find. We would, we had one person on the team before we had layoffs. Lynn. And Lynn was actually, you know, she was acting as archivist and trying to find information. And honestly, it was so hard to find any actual written down lore for EQ when we were there. So a lot of stuff we sort of made up as we go, and it's my belief. I mean, people that were on the team longer can confirm or deny, but my assumption is a lot of the richness and the depth of the lore that you see now after 20 plus years was probably created as an extension of the original sort of foundational lore that was there at the time. So a lot of it's new. Are these books available online anywhere? I have no idea. I've never gone looking for them. Let's see. But I might look them up. I got a very blurry photo of the GM's guide. Sorry about that. The Temple of Solusek Row. So. I thought the minimalist lore was intentional. Part of the fun was players looking for bits of lore. Yeah, I mean, depends on how you think of intentional. Okay, so this one's fun. Here's a broken, I'm assuming, Gold Master disc or a Gold Master backup. Hey, Ramez. Holiday was okay. If you want the full details on why that may not actually be 100% true, check the VOD. How have you been? So anyways, Prophecy of Grozmok was the original name of Legacy of Akesha. So, but it didn't roll off the tongue very well. So we had to go back and create a new name pretty quickly. And that was Legacy of Legacy of Akesha. Upside down again, apologies. Legacy of Akesha was I mean, honestly, it was a bunch of features we probably would have given you for free, but we got asked to make an expansion in 4 months. So we bundled up some features that we wanted to do anyways. We knocked out 4 zones really quickly. The environment lead was really wanting to do the pirate ship, so he did Hate's Fury as like the 5th zone for free. He did it in his spare time. How did they determine that it was not a great name? The marketing department really hated the name. Really didn't like the name. So they're like, please give us a different name. So we went with Legacy of Akesha. Both the Grozmok and the Grozmok Stone, and sort of the Akesha hints here and there, both could be related back to, you know, like Broken Skull Rock and the Trolls and some other shit anyway, so. We've got an unopened gold edition, so that's kind of nice. Marketing department would have loved the titles of Gary Gaia X modules too. They might have gone for some of the old like module names a lot easier, right? Because in all fairness, you know, some of those old names, like Shady Dragon Inn or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, they're so straightforward. I actually love that naming style a ton. I'm more of a fan of that sort of like vanilla fantasy style of naming than I am the explat of Blukeblook, like making you figure out some random ass stuff that we came up with. More boxes. I don't know if I pull some of this stuff out. I forgot to look at these cameras. I think these are EverQuest 2 launch party cameras, where they're just cameras that you can take picture. There's some EverQuest Godiva chocolates. Untold Legends, I'm assuming, for the PSP. Let's see. Oh, I do pull some of this stuff out. Little pewter dragon from the launch of EverQuest in Japan or something. Lightning Stripe said, so Robert, you said you'd fill me in on what my argument was missing with quality of life effects. Okay, yeah. Don't let me forget when I'm done looking at this stuff. We can hash that out. And then I'll probably have to bring up the thing that that I responded to. The little, I'm going to just summarize this, and I wrote way too much. A Dragons of Norath thumb drive. Honestly, I think it's just an empty thumb drive. Sheer 26 said, yeah, I agree. There's something about 90s fantasy being generic that I love. The town and building names, the plots, etc. Yeah, I really, honestly, I'm not bullshitting when I say I love that style. Like, to me, it's an actual style. I love that a lot. I've talked to Hamada a fair bit about that. And yeah, don't be shocked if you see it. So backstory was when I got brought back on the team for Omens of War after Gates, they had like similar naming style for the zones that they were going to do. And when we went back, we basically, it was like a month and a half or 2 months into development, and they brought me back onto the team because it wasn't going very well. And so came back, and we basically threw away the art, started over, like redesigned the expansion from scratch, and like the naming and stuff. I was like, dude, let's just go with like, Bloodfields, Wall of Slaughter, right? Like, let's get it back to as like hokey vanilla fantasy as possible on some of this stuff. Because I still can't, honestly, I don't know that I can name a Gates zone or a Gates NPC name. But that's, I mean, it's just a personal thing. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like there's like a group of us that sort of feel that way. Minis 2, where's this stuff? Just marketing gifts to hand out to retailers or to the team. We'd have a lot of this stuff internally. Like, I didn't even remember this. Lost Dungeons of Norath, little keychain. Oh man, I should have actually grabbed that and used it. Look at the little skulls on here. That's pretty dope. Tennessee Feet Monk. Gates became an expansion that people appreciated later. Gates was just, the team was in a tough situation. And they had a short timeline. They lost their tech director, design director, and their expansion lead, me. Overnight. We literally got pulled onto EQ2 overnight. We had no choice in the matter. And it created a really tough situation for the team. And so I've got a coin. Voluntold, yeah. So you're saying it's EQ2's fault. I'm okay with that statement. Cool. So next, Shadows of Luckman puzzles. I've got a couple of those. Another set of keychains from Gamania. Gamania is really good at branding. I was so blown away when I visited them in Taiwan. There was like 3 of us. I'll show you a picture in a minute. When we got to their offices, because they're mainly a marketing company, but then I think they were like marketing and they did gaming magazines, but then they became a game publisher and they had like 50 online games. They were so ahead of the curve. Like, this was like 2002, I think. And like they had it figured out. They had like one global sort of avatar system, like a point system. You play different games and your achievements in different games would add points to your account, and your points could be used for keychains and backpacks and all sorts of shit like that, and paying for stuff. And it was just like they're so ahead of the curve, and their branding everywhere, like in the company, was so good. I mean, look at that. Like the tangerine slice is their thing. Even up here, that little, you know, cutout on there. Like that's really a throwaway cup of water in there. It's like beautifully branded. Everything was very good. So, Planes of Power launch menu. We had, for starters, pizza margarita, Caesar salads, entrees. Please choose one. And never ever just ate one, because there's always leftovers. Atlantic salmon, braised short ribs, raviola verdura. Okay, dessert. Fresh warm fruit crisp with vanilla ice cream. Wines by the glass. We had a nice Chardonnay and a Merlot, and it was in La Jolla. That was actually a really nice launch party. We worked our asses off, and I felt like we deserved that launch party. Another Runes of Kunark. Here's the back of it. I feel really dumb because I don't know, is it in Mandarin or not? So when we got to Taiwan, we were blown away. Oh, I wonder. Oh, I don't know. I should have opened it and tried to and took pictures of the map and stuff. Like, check that out. But yeah, there were MMOs advertised everywhere in like 2002 in Taiwan. They were like advertising Moo online and all sorts of stuff when we were there. You could pick up games like this in a 7-Eleven. I think it was also the first time that somebody basically just handed me a disc and was like, "Here, play this MMO." I forget, we were at the mall or somewhere. They're just handing out free discs. We came back and was like, "Dude, we should give the game away for free and just charge the subscription." And I don't think anybody was very receptive to that idea at the time. You have a cloth EQ map and a geocache in Maine? That's badass. I think if EQ2 wasn't competing with... I think if there were different expectations for it, it had more time, and it wasn't competing with the launch of WoW, you know, and it would run on people's machines. It was a, you know, it's a pretty cool game. Not necessarily my preference, obviously, but... So, Japanese edition trilogy. Were there many EQ players in Japan back when you had access to numbers? I honestly don't remember Belfaster. It seemed like there were not a huge amount, but like a worthy of at least a server or so. I mean, there's still Japanese players on P99, right? All right, so this was the crew that went to that went to Taipei. So this is John Lawrence. He's actually become, like, I don't know what he is. He's a high level dude. Last time I looked, he was high level. But super smart guy. Spoke Mandarin, Cantonese, and like 2 other languages. So we got in a cab. And the cab driver is just speaking like whatever, I think like Mandarin or something. And John Lawrence immediately goes into like brilliant, fluid, gangster ass sounding like Mandarin. Did they keep up with player numbers back then? It was kind of Wild West days of MMOs. We didn't have access to anything resembling the sophistication of metrics that we have today. We would get like rough churn numbers. Like if churn was going up, we'd, you know, get told to revamp a zone or something. That's kind of how Chardock happened. You know, we would barely get any info. We knew our player count, we knew our concurrence. So we knew how many subs we had, we knew how many concurrents we had. We had rough churn percentage that we would get. Beyond that, not a lot. I mean, the average like product manager or on any free-to-play games got like 1,000 times more info about the game than we did there. And then I went from Sony to where that was kind of consistent in terms of the level of information that we had, at least at my level, to King's Isle Entertainment. King's Isle Entertainment, I think they had pretty sophisticated analytics, but the only people allowed to see those analytics, according to what I was told, were the people that worked in the business development, like the biz dev folks and the analysts. And so like the teams would be told sort of, we would be giving analysis of those metrics. We were not allowed to see the metrics. And that's because it was a private company owned by one man. And I heard he made a ridiculous amount of money, which had we known about it, there'd be probably a revolution. Anyway, so John Lawrence, he was also the first project manager I'd ever worked with. He came from other companies. He had worked in China for years and came from a more sophisticated sort of game development culture. And so he came on for Planes of Power and helped us sort of think about project management for the first time. But mainly we would get upset that he was coming at us with a clipboard and chase him away. This is Robert Pfister. Robert Pfister was our producer. He came to us right as we were doing Planes of Power when the old team left. And he, awesome guy, very, I think in some of the interviews, he comes up, if you watch some of the interviews that I've done with like old EQ folks, you can find it here, EQ history. Some people love him. Other people didn't get his very crass and I don't think he could work at a modern tech company these days because he would say all sorts of obviously inappropriate shit. He was basically like a never-ending episode of Family Guy, the shit that he would say. And so yeah, he was the make a timeline of a timeline guy, because we weren't used to scheduling, we weren't used to any of that stuff. And so he's like, bring me a schedule. And we're like, huh? No, we can't. We don't know what we're doing yet. And he's like, all right, then go make a schedule of a schedule. Basically make a timeline telling us when you'll actually have a timeline. But for as much as he just made fun of people and wrestled with us, he's a giant man. I'm 6'2". He's sitting down and scrunched over, and he's clearly still like 4 inches taller than me and like 300 pounds or whatever. Yeah, I'm 6'2", and this guy dwarfs me. It was great. So this is Robert Pfister's sort of humor. We're in like the city square in Taipei during lunch, and it's a sea of Taiwanese folks. And we're walking through there, and we're the only 3 like non-Taiwanese folks in sight. And he puts his arms up and starts stomping, and he's like, I must look like Godzilla to these people. Right? Like, that's the kind of shit that he would say in front of, he made fun of HR. He made fun of the executives. He made fun of blah, blah, blah. So he's kind of like, oh, don't ooh. Come on. We're not that deep into the 2020s that you can't take that joke. So, right? Like, so that's the kind of shit he would say. And he's the kindest, nicest, would go out of his way for anybody, like on the DL. If somebody had money trouble and he found out about it, he would take care of them. If somebody had like an issue, he'd probably be the first person to actually find you a decent like therapist or something. The guy is the sweetest dude ever. He just was constantly busting balls, right? And in a way that we're not allowed to do in current year. Well, pretty much just America. So anyways, everybody's got their own types of humor. That's why we hang out with the people that we hang out with. And that would have went over like a fart in church. Have you not farted in church? People fart in church all the time. So anyway, that's me down here. And for whatever reason, it looks like I'm actually eating my nameplate, I guess. So... And people laugh, exactly. People laugh. People have forgotten that people... It was like, ever since Twitter was invented, people stopped laughing and just started sharpening their pitchforks. So anyway, that's the three guys there. Robert Pfister, you wouldn't have had Planes of Power without him, like his humor or not. Another one of these. Taken out of the case. I think that book's actually worth money now if you try to sell it on eBay or Amazon. So this is like an in development map of Planes of Power. Oh, and to clarify the joke, Nicodemus, it's because he was literally twice as tall as everybody within, like, eyesight, and there was 10,000 people in that shopping center, or in that square. So... yeah, we don't even have names filled in on these yet, I don't think. So this was like one of those, as we're iterating, let's print it out and kind of look at it. I'm assuming... we know the names to these days, though. Is that one? What was it, Drunder? I forget. Anyway. Box of maps. A mouse pad. A notebook that I made in kind of a hacky fashion. I had leftover, like, the laminate that you put on, or that film that you put on signs from when I worked at a sign shop and was playing EverQuest. My original EQ disc. So that's what got me started. Here is a little tchotchke from when I was... So I think I've told the story that I discovered EverQuest by playing Quake and was doing like Quake ladder matches on heat.net. And then just was having a very bad ping day in Alabama, as is not uncommon in Alabama. Or at least at the time where I lived in Alabama. And was curious. I was asking the guy that I was in the match with, because we had some time until the match was over. I was like, is there an RPG that's like 3D, like Quake, where I can play with other people? And he was like, you should check out EverQuest. And I got EverQuest that day. From the software store at the mall. And that is the box. And I don't know if I bought the guide when I bought the guide. But I definitely got the guide as well at some point, because you need that. Heat.net is now a heating and cooling company. Oh man. RIP. Okay, well, so other things that may or may not interest you. I think I've mentioned a mercenary. That was it for the EQ stuff. If you just want to see EQ stuff, then you can go get a coffee or whatever now. Here I've got like a stack of printed out concepts that we did for a game called Guns for Hire. that was going to be a mercenary. It's like a near future mercenary MMO FPS. Can't remember the guide. Was it good? Remember looking at a lot of stuff online back then. It was decent. There's a lot of cool information. I mean, it you know, it's not necessary if you got the internet, right? But for the time, it was pretty cool. So yeah. So we actually had this up and running within SOE within a couple of weeks. But then ultimately we canceled it. And that's when I moved eventually over to DC Universe. And here are a couple concepts for the similar MMO FPS cyberpunk game that we pitched a few times and just never got traction. Marketing and management just didn't think people were gonna get cyberpunk. They didn't think anybody would be into it. They also didn't think anybody would be into Mercenaries, but that was also right before Mercenaries, the pandemic game came out and did really well. So did DCO instead. And if you like DC, here are a couple other things that I posted in there. Here's a map that was Jim Lee had sketched some notes after some of our conversations back and forth on just sort of like us trying to figure out what Metropolis and Gotham were actually going to look like, because there really wasn't a set full design of either city. So my notes kind of look like this, and I'd send something over to Jim Lee, and then he would like make it a little bit prettier, and then we would work on you know, updating that even more, and then we'd wind up seeing each other, you know, at different meetings or whatever. And so then could be like, hey, what do you think about this? And he'd you know, fly out a bunch. It was an excuse for him to go to Austin and update some stuff, and then we just kind of go back and forth and develop the zones. Seems like a cool guy, big gamer. Yeah, huge gamer, like hardcore gamer. So when you see him on like the Pantheon videos and stuff, that's legit. Like he's really that big of a EQ nerd. Super, you know, super fun guy to work with in that capacity. I can also say that he likes to, he was definitely not one that shied away back in the day. I don't know what he's like now, but definitely didn't mind a little bit of partying in the evening. So that wound up being kind of fun for the team. He's on Twitch. All rad. Yeah, I haven't the foggiest on that. I'll have to look him up. But yeah, so that was the treasure trove. Thanks for taking a look at it. Those of you that I'm assuming if you're here looking for, you know, checking out M&M stuff, that you could probably appreciate some old EQ stuff. So hopefully I didn't waste too much of your time. I will click the link so I don't forget. Oh, well, that makes sense that he'd be drawing on Twitch. Rad. Oh, it's amazing how relaxing it is to check that out. One of the guys I worked with at King's Isle, really great artist, Dave Greco. He works for Blizzard now. He streams as well, and I think he was one of the first people I watched actually do art on stream. Uh-oh. See if this was just one of those little hiccup freezes. We've had those. Oh no. I just saw your message, Keith. Just a heads up, there's an animation bug that freezes the game. Yes. Yes, that was perfect timing. Hey, Datum. Going good. Team's been cranking away while I've been luxuriating on vacation. think, what was I doing? Was I just checking to see if this was working? Yeah. So my mission on stream today was to catch up with you guys and then do a little bit of data entry. Hey, T-Con. So I've just been putting, pants and shirts and boots on people. Because they have just been wearing the jockstrap thing that Goblin had painted on there. So I got tired of seeing that and seeing it on stream. So I used a little visualizer, the dressing room tool, that Ali and crew created. So it made it easy to kind of look at what, change the colors and all that stuff and put it on here. So I'm updating them in a database right now. I'll put it on here so that you can see. It's been a hot summer. Don't be hard on them. You know, I could almost think that there's like a weird pun in there. Nicodemus. And then I would be like, ooh. I'm going to hold that ooh against you for a little bit. Don't feel bad though. I do that with everybody. I hold stuff against people. It's a really bad character flaw of mine. One of the guys I know from back when we were kids used to call me Judge Judy because I'm so judgmental. I'm working on it though. The other night I had to crack open my favorite. Book on Buddhism to get my head realigned. I try to check it out every year or two. I got to get back in there and it remind me of the fact that I should just chill the frick out. I don't like saying frick, I'll be honest with you, but I've also established a habit of not cursing very much on stream, especially since this is going on YouTube and VODs and all that stuff. Try to be pretty family friendly, but I gotta tell you what, I love watching podcasts from former military folks and stuff, and the fact that they just curse all the time makes me feel so. I'm like, I wish I could do that. Because I curse a lot. Oh, you could bleep me out for added effect, but you know how much extra work that would be to go through like a 3-hour rambling podcast just to bleep out a few F-bombs? Middle, thank you for the follow. To your credit, you did not get a full vacation. Relax, it's understandable. It's not that at all. I've always been this way. The only time I'm truly calm and non-judgmental and just like everything's gonna be fine, guys, is if like if everything's on fire and people are running around like freaking out and screaming, then I can truly get in my calm. That's when I'm most zen. Swearing is our second language in the military. Yeah, I grew up in a military household, and then I was in the army for a little bit, and I've had to learn to be more professional in my language on stream, mainly through the professionalism that I see in the rest of the team. If they can do it, I can do it. Hey, John. Yeah, so if you're just getting in today, and you wanna see some really, like, I think obscure EverQuest sort of swag or chotskis or whatever you call it, you can check the VOD. What branch are you in, Big Brew? Yay, people have clothes on. What do you think about the color scheme? I picked it myself. Everybody's wearing a sleeveless shirt though, so, because it's hot. Everybody's, and we need to get belts in. In the army? Cool. You getting out? Are you getting out? Getting out? Or are you retiring? My dad retired. I could only do one contract, to be honest. Backpack reminds you of Outward? Yeah. They've got some cool backpack. It was definitely something, as soon as we started talking about backpacks and stuff, everybody was like reminding us to check Outward. They did some fun things with lights too in there. So like the belt lantern and stuff like that we've put in. Getting out, only 29, right on. Yeah, so the work that Pattis has been doing, it's great. Let's Fly. And we'll check some of that out after this. Well, apparently it worked. I was just being a dummy. Had one conversation with your dad about joining army. Should I join the army? Dad, nope. He did 14 years. My dad was the same way. My dad really just wanted me to go to college. And so I didn't even bother taking the ASFAB. I was like that smart ass kid in high school when the recruiters came in and they administered the ASFAB, the you know, test that, for those of you unfamiliar, I don't know what it actually stands for, but it's basically a test to sort of see your base kind of academic competency or whatever, logical competency for the military. Anyways, they came in, yeah, it's just an aptitude test. So the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. There we go. Thank you, Civicus. Civicus? Let me know if the pronunciation's off on that. Anyway, they're like, is there anybody that can't take the test today for any reason? And I told them, I think I said I had my contacts in, and so I couldn't see anything close up. And went back and forth for a minute, and then they just told me to leave. They were over it. They were just like, leave. So I went to the library instead. So anyways, I was not going to join the army. But I realized as soon as I got to college that I really didn't want to spend any more time in school. I was bored in high school, and then I found college to not be that fun either. And so then I was just back home screwing around, getting in trouble. Got in enough trouble one day that a judge got involved, and a judge, and since there was a judge involved, there was a lawyer involved, and between the lawyer and my dad, who knew a lot of people in law enforcement, basically it was just one of those things where we decided I was going to join the army, and the judge was like, I think that's a great idea. I got in some trouble when I was a kid as well, and I joined the Navy. And look how I turned out. And so I was like, Your Honor, sounds great. And so they sponged it from my record, which then made it so that I didn't have any problem getting the security clearances I needed once I got to my actual unit. So, bam. So I did 3 years and 17 weeks in the Army, and decided that that wasn't going to be for me either. When you took the test, the kid next to you got perfect scores, and after I asked what he wanted it to be, he said he was going to Army Infantry with all those options though. Well, if he was really that sharp though, odds are he's probably able to get in and do something. Depending on his character, I guess. Who knows, maybe that guy went to selection and did all sorts of high-speed shit. Yeah, so it's come along quite a bit. For those of you that haven't been following the other streams, I would say you should. Often those streams are a little bit easier for folks in the US, time zone wise, to watch. I know this is early in the morning for you guys. Pattis has made a ton of work, or a ton of progress on his work here. We're gonna basically be focusing on getting a lot of this populated now. Before I left, you can see there's a little bit of population going on, but yeah. So we'll be getting this in. New Anubi yard. Let's switch day night. Got some lighting started, which is nice. For those of you that haven't been here in a while, we've got some fun additions. Pattis redid the facade of Fallen Watch up on the hill. So it's a little bit more structured and looks like an actual thing now, prominent and visible due to lighting. We've got a wonderful entrance to Wormsbane. Yeah, it doesn't take a ton, especially for this city, Keith, to start to get the right lighting vibes. Because we don't want it to be overly bright, right? We want certain sections to come alive at night, but then have a lot of like mysterious and sort of semi-dangerous feel at night in other areas. Before I left, I threw some pretty bright lights on the roaming guards here, and we'll get more of that in, just to give us kind of a little something that catches your eye when you're down here running around the newbie yard. Let me turn off aggro. Otherwise, I'll stop paying attention at some point and wind up falling over dead. And I like if we keep things relatively dark in different areas. Like, we'll have some torches here and there, but if we keep things relatively dark, then dynamic lights, like these guys, will be a little bit more noticeable. And I think that movement is really nice. I mean, we see it with the beetles, which we'll probably refine, but player light sources and stuff like that will really help. What's the day-night cycle? Like an hour? I think we've gone back and forth. I think we'll probably be shooting for somewhere between 45 and 70 minutes. My thought with day-night cycle is if it's like 45 minutes and you play for an hour, but honestly, who can just play for an hour? Come on. But if you play for an hour, then you at least get a full day-night cycle. If it's longer than that and you can only play for like an hour, you're still getting the bulk of that experience. And yeah, so we got this modeled out. Pattis got it modeled out. I think it might have been from Goblin's drawing first, and then Pattis modeled it out, or do I have it backwards? Might have it backwards. But I could have sworn that was it. Alright, so you guys want to talk about this? Let's talk about it. Let me go into... Yeah, because I could have sworn it was from like the book cover that he did. Let's see. We'll do... is from this dude right here. So he had worked this up after a conversation we had about like the aesthetic, and you know, essentially what should we be focusing on when we do like illustrations. And so we had a conversation where like the end result was essentially, and I may have them out of order, but like party or place. So like this location, having a cool location, place, party. So it's a group focused game. And it's always nice if you look at like a lot of the old D&D art where you see like a fellowship or a band or a group or a party of adventurers together, right? So it's place, party, and peril, right? Like always something just kind of like, oh shit, what are they about to do? And you can see, you know, the goblin's like, all right, we ready for this? So I thought this was just brilliant. And the one that he's done, he just did another one that's also in the update. Again, you know, it reinforces those 3 P's. So so with that in mind, let's go back to, let me go to Discord. Let me find the discussion. So there was an Avalon Hill game called Powers and Perils.
I can't always attend streams because it's often before I wake up. But I'm really excited for MNM. Keep up the great work, bot and team.
Thank you, Midgard. It's very cool of you. 23 months of support. That is pretty badass. That leads me to believe that you've been around since before there was even an MNM. Back when we were talking about EverQuest. Alright, so I'm trying to find the... Okay. So... Dagamir, or should I use Lightning Stripes? Lightning Stripes. I responded to your comments about, let me go back up to it. Quality of life systems killed the MMORPG, I think was sort of like the base thesis of your various posts. And I feel like, I couldn't tell, I feel like you're using some pretty direct and I don't want to, I think sensational is too sensational of a word, but you're using language where you're like, you know, use the example, you know, you've got the sense in here, you know what, fuck it, everything is now quality of life and the game autoplays like every single modern phone MMO. Things like that. So it's kind of like it's picking an extreme and going with it, right? I would say my response, I tried to cover a number of the points that you made. Now just on autoplay specifically, like you say autoplay like it's like it was an evolution. It's like quality of life got so crazy that we eventually just said screw it, we're not even going to play the game anymore in autoplay. Autoplay was for, I don't know, at least 10-15 years, maybe longer. Came out of Asian MMOs, specifically Chinese MMOs if I'm not mistaken. Where it's just considered like that is a feature that you need to have in your game, right? Because a lot of the goal going back to the stuff that we just showed, like from my trip to Taipei, one of the questions that we had, like one of the first questions we had when dealing with the gaming press over there was, and I forget during that era if max level was 50 or 60. I think it was like 60. Their question was, why do I need to play for 60 levels to get to max level? Why can't I just start where the fun part of the game is? Why can't I start where the game begins? Right? Because their belief was all of the grind, which it's an interesting question. If you look at like MU or Mu Online, if you look at Lineage, you know, a lot of the games, if I'm not mistaken, I know for sure with Lineage, but a lot of the games have a lot of grind in them. But then essentially, you know, it's this weird mix of there being a ton of grind and then there's opportunity to skip that grind through pay or through whatever, because it's a difference in those of you that may be like Chinese or, I guess, Asian MMO experts. Please let me know if I'm wrong, but, there's a culture where it's normal to spend money to sort of reflect your out of game status in game, right? That's why you've got like spend depth of several $1 million on one of those games, because there will be people that will spend $1 million. And so we in the West really learned a lot about free to play from the whole whale culture over there, like basically Eastern MMOs, and it came over and it's like, okay, well, then we started, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time sort of debating the pros and cons of like free to play and accessibility, you know, blah, 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 like, because it's not applicable to our game in the first place. We're making a subscription-based game, and if anything, we're looking to probably do a subscription model that is more accessible rather than not, and see if we can tap into a way of basically making it more affordable for everybody, but then allow both through like the merchandise that we sell out of game, and then potentially tipping. This is something we've been looking into, or I don't want to speak for the whole team, but it's been something that's been on my mind ever since if you look at like all the way back to Radiohead's days. But the idea of like having an acceptable subscription that then, if you want to give us some more money, you can give us some more money, and then if it averages out that we kind of hit a relatively sort of normal subscription price, then great. So that's something we'll be playing around with. It's all separate from what you were asking though, right? Basically, to your conversation that you are having in here, you're talking about quality of life. I don't think quality of life in MMOs is inherently bad, and my argument in response to what you said was basically that quality of life clearly did not kill MMOs, because there are more people playing MMOs today than there ever had people playing MMOs. And if that affected player socializing, but to what degree? I would argue too that I haven't seen a metric that shows me that that's the case. So we actually worked with the university in Hamburg at Big Point, a company that I was at 2015 through 2017. One of the things that I've been curious about for quite a while, and I hadn't seen a metric on it, was basically a lot of what drives us on the business side of things is we're looking at the lifetime value of a customer, right? And with a subscription-based game, if you don't have any other input, if you don't have any other means of getting money from players, you kind of know, hey, if we're charging $10 per player, we have 10 players, cool, we've got $100 a month, and blah blah blah, that extrapolates out until all the other things in terms of like what's our take of that and blah blah blah, how do we cover operating expenses. But when we're getting that $10 from a player, then the thing we're curious about is like, how long do we retain them? So if we retain them for 10 months, now we've got a lifetime value of $100 per player. And so in the free-to-play games where you can basically have that be $1 million or whatever, then that's fine, because then you look at essentially metrics like average revenue per user, or sort of return on ad spend, and all these other metrics that you're looking to basically see, is the money that I'm spending to acquire users returning the right profit for us. And I'm doing probably a bad simplistic job of explaining that. That's how I am on stream, sorry. I'm better when I'm typing in Discord. So anyways, I was always curious about the social value of a given player, right? Especially in something like a PvP game, which at the time I was working on a game that you've never heard of called Dark Orbit, which actually had like 400,000 or 500,000 monthly active users and was making pretty decent money, like $1.5 million to $2.5 million a month. As a free-to-play, pretty much pay-to-win for most of its lifetime game that we were trying to kind of rehab and extend the lifespan a bit, but it was definitely on its long tail. So anyway, one of the things working in MMOs I was curious about, and we worked with the university to try to figure this problem out, and they did a lot of like data analysis and tried to figure it out, but didn't come up with a really good solution for us. But I'm still curious about it, is like the social value of a player. And what that would be is there a way to look at how social a player is and then apply the social metrics to the sort of the financial metrics, right? Are there players who have clusters of players around them who then also are higher LTV players? Are those players who are the more social players, what is their actual value? Because in a free-to-play game, it's very possible that you have players that are social, but they don't spend much, right? Because it could be you have one of those people that is like the leader, but then people feed into that and they take care of them. Or on the flip side, like my guild leader when I was in EQ, in the Dark Exile, he would make sure that like our clerics would have better video cards or whatever, right? Like shit like that. And so, because he had his own cache. But then again, you could also see that he also had a pretty high social value. And then if you look at the various officers in the guild, they probably also had pretty good networks and connections. And you could see like retention rates as applied to, yeah, that'd be another thing, like looking at retention metrics as applied to these nodes of sort of high value or high social value players. And so this was something like we had a couple university students that I guess were like trying to use that to maybe do their master's thesis or whatever on. And so by the time I left, like they still hadn't really figured it out. And, you know, we got some interesting data from them and stuff. But yeah, so it's something where I would say we talk about games being less social, but I think other people have done a really fantastic job of maybe attacking the modern MMOs aren't as social angle, like Josh Hayes and others, probably mainly him though, in sort of asking or posing the question of, all right, but how many of those people are then they find certain communities or, you know, Discord or whatever through playing the game. So even if they're not as social in game, does it really mean that those games are less social? And then we're also talking about relative numbers, right? So the idea is, if you've got one game that's got really, really great social features in it, and people are very social in game, right? Like that's one of our tenets. It's something we're very focused on, is like increasing the social friction and providing mechanisms that sort of benefit you for being more social, and we're a party focused game, etc. But say we only have a customer base of let's be wild and just go off into fantasy space and say we have 1 million subscribers. Oh my God. We've exceeded all expectations, right, for a niche game. But then when you do the math and look at in a less social game that maybe has 50 million people playing it, I mean, hell, how did we catch up to like Roblox with whatever it is, 200 million monthly active users, 250 million monthly active users, or Minecraft, right? Where it may not be the same social dynamics, it may not be the same feel when you talk about social in terms of the server level sort of social interaction that you have, but it's still on the whole more social activity. Anyway, so that's one thought on that. I don't buy the premise that quality of life killed MMOs, because I don't feel like MMOs have died. I feel like they've only grown, and I think our definition of like MMO, when Xbox Live first came out, I looked at it and was like, hey guys, keep in mind that's essentially in effect an MMO, in that you're going to have a shitload of people going in there. They're going to be spending their time in there. They're going to form communities in there. There's going to be shared value through progression systems in there, etc. My grandmother playing on Club Pogo, like when she was trying to figure out what the hell I did for a living when I talked about MMOs, I looked into Club Pogo and I was like, basically it's like what you do right now. You hang out with your friends and you play different games together, and you earn points that you can spend on virtual greeting cards and stuff like that. So yeah. Anyway, let me catch up on this because you're being complimentary and I don't want to miss that. So Autolysius, tipping would be rad. Maybe do something like Twitch where you can gift subs. Would be fun to randomly gift subs. Yeah, I don't that would be cool as well. I think the idea of being able to buy people subs and stuff will be something we'd have to look at and see how Sola supports that and things like that. And then tipping would probably just be through standard sort of service where they get a cut. So we've looked at like Gumroad and other stuff. So Midgard said, I really like place, party, and peril designs, especially when it's a consistent party and you can see a progression in the narrative. So we're probably going to mix the party up a bit though, but I wouldn't be shocked if we see some consistent faces in there. Nicodemus said 3Ps is a great design concept. Maybe at some point Goblin will do like an iconic group to use in multiple art pieces. So reinforcing that. Yeah, it's possible. When it first came up, we actually arrived at the 3Ps, I think, by way of discussing should there be iconic characters. I could have sworn that was an earlier part of the conversation. It's like, should we have like our Furionas and stuff? And my pushback on that was, let's first focus on the vibe and less on the characters, because we're not really about making a character-driven game in the sense that we're not heavily story-driven where you're really like fixating on specific in-game characters and their progression, and you're not sitting here going, what's going on with Sylvanas today or whatever. And so the mic test in-game. No, we're not talking about in-game. We're talking about out-of-game payments and payment approaches. Aaron, thank you for 8 months. Let's see. Yeah, we were just talking about different business models and stuff. Lighting said, I've played hundreds of MMOs as they've come and gone over time. The ones that seem to shut down the fastest are the ones without much social interaction required, as well as the on-rail worlds like WoW instead of the open worlds like EQ. Yeah, that's probably partially because of social stickiness or retention based on the social aspect of it. But it's also probably any number of other factors, right? Like if you were to look at something like WildStar, was it strictly the social aspect of it, or was it sort of the the issues with the difficulty of the in-game and sort of the stratification of the player base and their like what they're providing? And then if you make a game that's very like on rails and very high fidelity content, something like Star Wars: The Old Republic or whatever, how quickly can you make that content? How big of a team do you need to support it? A lot of like whether or not a game stays up or down has very little to do with those factors, and more with like unromantic factors of like, is there something going on elsewhere in the company? Like 30-40% of the DC Universe Online team got laid off right after we shipped because the overall portfolio wasn't performing, and DCO didn't come out as like ultra mega success, right? And so then when that team's cut, how does that impact the game's ability to deliver content, blah blah blah, right? So I've seen cancellations that were based on really the company's overall sort of portfolio more than it was any one game. Then you've got how quickly can you produce the content? Like there's all sorts of factors that go into it. So, you know what I mean? So I would say that I'm not disagreeing with you, but I also think that to just have it be, it's because it wasn't social enough. It's probably missing all sorts of other trees in that forest. There was a comment earlier about, maybe it was John or somebody that was like, that made the comment about how did some of the quality of life features, like the quality of life features came from somewhere. And I would say, again, for those of you that are just tuning in, everything that I'm saying is based off of my understanding of sort of either what happened with the evolution of EQ while I was there, or what is potentially happening at other companies, but I'm only speculating. And again, I think other content creators out there have done really solid analysis. I don't know that it's always correct or I always agree with them, but there's some great analysis out there about what's happened with specific games. And I would say for EQ in particular, I was a part of several of the more controversial changes that happened, especially during Pop in the Eldon era. Probably I would even give myself credit for championing some of the more controversial changes. And I'm more than happy to take the shit for the resulting impact on the game. But I can explain what we were thinking at the time and why. So I responded with some of that in Discord, and I think I've mentioned some of this before, but like several of the things that we did, so things that I championed are things that I wrote about here. So Plane of Knowledge books, and the Plane of Knowledge was actually based, as I mentioned in my response to you, Plane of Knowledge was based on the idea that we were seeing people come into EverQuest, and at the time I forget how many servers we had, and we could not just collapse the servers. And we would, and I think we had like recommended servers at the time, like if you're a new player, try this server first. But I don't know how much impact that's had, and I've worked on other MMOs since then where we tried to actively funnel new players into servers that had different levels of player counts in order to sort of keep them balanced. So like automated balancing of the server base, and it's a difficult problem. And so the problem that we had was that we had new players coming into EQ during that period, and despite the fact that we were sort of peaking on subscriber base, the old world was so abandoned by that point, because I'd say pre Eldon there was nothing really going on in the old world. And so what we found was people were coming in to, there was a combination of essentially, if you looked at how many starting cities were there? 10, 12, 14? I guess if you're including Charval. So let's assume that let's like round down and say that it was 10 starting cities. If there's 10 starting cities across, let's just be generous and say for whatever reason they never looked past the first 5 servers, then you've got 50 potential starting points for a new player, and depending on how many new players were coming in each day, they may land in any one of those. And we weren't seeing like a massive influx of new players at that point. You know what I mean? It's like it was a fairly small amount of new players continuing to come in, but it was steady. So they would come in and they may see one other player, or they may see 2 or 3 other players at the most, maybe. And they would come in because they heard about this massively multiplayer online social experience, and they came in and said, you know, like, oh shit, I don't see any other players. What's the hype about, right? And so the points that you're making now are the hindsight that we have, and it's one of those things that I've commented on before. And so, like Zoidberg said, I think the old world became abandoned because content wasn't updated in the old world. Looking back, it should have got the Fortnite treatment, right? The problem is we had a team that, through sort of our business directives, was focused on making new content and selling new boxes of content. Like we had to put a box on a shelf, right? And it's fine when people are like, oh, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with it either. And I'm pretty sure the team didn't agree with it, right? So I was the expansion lead, and the bulk of the design team worked with me on expansions. We had like 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 if we were shifting people back and forth, people focusing on the live game. And for the most part, the people focusing on the live game were fixing bugs, and then there were people that had a foot in both sides, right? And so it was like something like you know, the itemization guy or the spell person or whatever, right? So most of their effort was focused on making expansions, which, you know, when the team was doing 2 expansions a year, and you look at other MMO companies with much bigger teams cranking out like 1 expansion every year, or 1 expansion every year and a half or 2 years. So yeah, the thought at the time was, if we checked the data and there really wasn't before we made this decision, we looked at data, right? And there were people that were not, basically these zones would go without people going through them for days or weeks or months. And the so the old world was pretty much abandoned. And so this idea of like, well, when the plane of knowledge books could lead you from city to city, you no longer needed druids or wizards, and it killed the social friction in the old world. Maybe you've got firsthand experience where you were a druid and or a wizard, and it ruined your social experience at that point. I think I'd be very curious to know that really did happen. Like maybe you're remembering it wrong, because at the time we didn't see anything resembling that sort of behavior back then. The old world was dead, and for the most part, you wouldn't see people there. So I don't buy it. And so the idea of like people having the opportunity, the three people that do start playing with each other, so the dwarf and the guy who started in Kanos, who want to play together. The idea was, let's give them a very efficient route of joining up together, seeing other people pretty quickly, getting to where they want to go, and then having their experience. So, do I think it was the best approach, or could we have mitigated the need for that by being able to focus strictly on redoing the old world, and having a live team that basically just focused on maintaining the value of the subscription without, the little bit of money that we got from boxes. And keep in mind, the reason for a lot of companies that push expansions isn't just for the box sales. It's also that PR moment. But you can do that the way, like you said, Fortnite, right? So you could have bigger events and say we're updating the world and get the same sort of PR effect. More so these days, because I think the media is more willing to do it. But you've also got to realize back then, games journalists wanted to know, what's your expansion? They weren't looking to know what was your live update as much. So we just live in different times. So that's one thing. So there was a question about, do I feel like Pop's reception would have been, what do I feel like Pop's reception would have been without Plane of Knowledge in the books? At the time, there was a lot less bitching than in hindsight. If I remember correctly. I don't know, maybe you can like Internet Archive and show me all of the various furious posts about the game being broken because of the books. But people were way more pissed off at us about flagging than they were the books, if I remember correctly. And also, just because you can find an angry post about whatever doesn't necessarily mean that the bulk of the players actually felt that way, because there's literally angry posts about everything. So let's see. Other thing that I championed that pissed people off. It was instance dungeons. Instance dungeons was a big one that I championed that was controversial. POC became the hub for people to pimp themselves out for cybering. I didn't realize that. That is a bonus. People need love, man. That's legal in Germany. The reason why I mentioned Germany is I'm in Germany, for those of you Americans that don't know. So yeah, the whole reason for POC was to increase social friction. I think that's honestly one of the first times I started flailing my arms about social friction in those actual words. That's an interesting point. Pazzy160 said, as someone who really first played EQ 2 or 3 years ago, the POC books were the core of my co-op experience. My friend and I would explore using the books and then go get to other Go get to the other, saying, I went through this book and saw an ice dungeon. Let's go inside together later tonight. So yeah, maybe an easier way to go explore when the mechanisms that used to exist to help you in exploration. And honestly, it took you from city to city, right? For the most part, you still had to go out through the rest of the world. So I don't know. The instance dungeons, I think I wrote a pretty lengthy response here about it. So I'm just going to read it because it'll be more concise. So what I wrote in response to you, Lightning. And again, keep in mind, like our primary thing was just trying to make it more social, and we feel like it worked. And it was absolutely unfortunate that we didn't have a team for maintaining old world content. Keep in mind, I worked on the Chardock revamp with Rich Waters. The two of us did that in 2 days. I worked on I think we did Kazakh Thule. Was there a Plane of Fear revamp? I remember working on like 3 zone revamps. And Kazakh Thule is like, yeah, we made some things worse or whatever, but we also had 24 hours to knock that out. Did I have a hand in any Fable mobs? No, that was after my time there. POC may have been better in retrospect if it only accessed mostly select old world zones. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there are other ways to maybe improve how that worked, or improve the intent there, like provide a better solution. But I think the main thing that stands out is like, how do we want to do that in M&M? Well, we want to focus on maintaining the value of the old world. Like when people ask, why is Night Harbor so big? Well, because we want to look at it and see, can we make this also interesting adventure environment as well? Is there a way for us to build the game with live updates in mind, and focus on having a nice enough concentration of content around the various cities, enough changes over time to the content in those cities, build our tools in a way that allows for easy scheduling of content and changes of content, and have reveals where it's like, oh shit, there's an entire different set of catacombs under this city that we didn't know about before. All of that stuff that sort of keeps you coming back to the city. Simple systems in terms of like how merchants work and where you can actually use a merchant versus not. And we just added something, I'll show you in a minute. We just added something over the holiday where I think, can I still fly? Yeah. Where we can define what merchants will or won't buy from you, right? So we have more control over like getting you to come back in and need to go to specific places, or need to come back to places like cities, etc. So, we're gonna make an attempt at trying to mitigate the problem before it becomes a problem by really focusing on retaining the value of cities. Somebody in chat pointed out, like, instead of saying starting cities, we should say cities. It's not just a place you start and then leave, right? Never to come back to. So a shifty gnome here. Like, he doesn't want my snake fang. He doesn't want my bone chips anymore. Right, but I do believe I've set him up, so if I summon item Batwing. But he'll buy that Batwing. Right? So lots of little things sort of factoring into how we try to make specific elements of the world retain their value is where we're going to be playing around to see if we can improve on you know, on basically the old content model that sort of created these problems in the first place. Anyway, let's see. Thanks, Pansy. Did horses come into EQ at like Luckland? I feel like that should have been more of a priority with people being upset about travel across Karanas and stuff. Yeah, it came in at Luckland. I think a world needs to be built with mounts in mind. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we don't have our mounts in yet. We've got a good design for mounts. We've got Ali who's chomping at the bit to do mounts. But we've been pushing that for some of the other stuff. But before we go much further into world development, we want to get mounts in so that we've got a very good understanding of sort of their impact in the world. Why did we have such limited time to work on revamps? Because they just weren't considered. They weren't considered like work. We'd kind of get the we'd get the directive from above that we needed to provide something very interesting very quickly. And you know, there'd be a question of like, hey, could you guys revamp a zone over this weekend? And we would. I think the Kazakh Thule revamp, if I'm not mistaken, was even done during Valentine's. Because I could have sworn my girlfriend at the time, or fiance at the time, wound up... Our Valentine dinner was like me, Steve, Bill Fisher, probably her. She did not have a great evening. Are mounts just faster in all cases, or will there be mounts a player gets that are more utility based other than just run speed? Absolutely on the utility. That's why we've kind of put out there, not to necessarily fully distinguish, but as we're working on the system, we're doing pack animals. So just the idea of being able to carry more. But then they come at their own costs, right? Because they'll use food and drink as well. So there's maintenance costs with them. They have to be able to carry their own fuel in a sense, right? But they will be able to help you move more shit around. And one of the reasons why we've gone with like the more constrained, we've got 1 backpack, 3 bags, 3 belt pouches, and then, you know, your 8 sort of pocket slots. That constraints then makes it so that pack animals and mounts have more value, but then they also come at a cost. Trade caravans is something that we want to be sort of a natural extension of this lightning. Will they die? Yeah, so the idea is that mounts can die. They leave a corpse. The corpse stays there. In theory, there was a really cool piece of art from the community. Sorry that I don't remember exactly who did it. That someone drew that was a necromancer on a wagon. That the intent was like basically the necromancer would go reanimate your mount, make it an undead mount that would stay alive for a certain amount of time, like just from a conversation we had in chat, kind of goofing around. But it wound up being a really fun drawing. What's the vision for mounts? Flying exotic mounts or keep them more plain? We're gonna go deep on plain but fun, and then inevitably we'll have stuff that feels a little bit more exotic. I think any flying that's done, we've been back and forth on this one, and we're gonna have to lock that down sooner rather than later with regards to the zone design and how we want to do it. But like if you see, whenever it's like, you know, if I go into bat form, then and fly around, it's a lot of fun to fly, but you know, it's, yeah, I think it's gonna really have to be constrained. I could picture flying mounts working about like bats, to be honest. They're just animated a bit above the ground or something. For that very reason, Droop. Like we want to be careful even with something like Lev, let alone a flying mount. So, Gnome Tinker Wagon, very possible. Lightning, do you feel like I've covered your stuff? I don't want to necessarily resurrect the previous conversation if you feel like we're enough on the same page, or if I covered enough ground that you're happy. But I told you in Discord that I would follow up on this, and I don't want to say some shit and then not actually do it. Covered a lot. Appreciate it. Thanks. And thanks for actually coming in here and talking about it. Run speeds tend to proliferate quickly too, so keeping it low and more utility seems like a good feel. I remember there being 300% speed mounts a while before the simplification. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're going to be doing with our time as we play test and just keep working on like the bulk of the content for the game is, and I'll speak for me, but I do feel like this is something that I'm going to be constantly like asking the team and sort of working with Nick on or whatever, is like, I'd really like to take all of that cool stuff like levitation or run speed, or you know, some of the utility that once you get it, it's like a binary switch in older games where it's like, you know, if you've got levitate or DMF or whatever, it's just boom, it's so super powered. I'd love to basically take that and stretch it over an entire spell line or multiple spell lines that very much feel progressive, where you know your levitate, rather than just being a 2-minute levitate or whatever from the onset, is something it's like it's more of a oh shit utility, where it's, hey, I can cast it on and it works as more like a feather fall for 10 seconds or 20 seconds, and then boom. Okay, so that allowed me to fall safely, but I didn't go horizontally, for a ton of distance, right? And then levels later, you get something that lasts a little bit longer and maybe has a little less of a decay on like keeping you up, that kind of thing, right? You get a little temporary floating disc mount that you can use if you're with a mage or some shit like that. So or take it to an extreme, the torpor spell lines for shamans, where it starts off with pretty significant negatives, still worth it. Right. So as long as we've got some balance in there, that's but the goal from my end is mainly, how do we take something that's cool like that and just stretch it out for a bit more, whether it be through some potential balancing negative or detrimental effect, or tactical consideration. It's like, oh, you've got this thing, but if you get hit, then it fades instantly, or whatever it is, right? Like maybe a bad example, but just sort of do more of that stuff that allows you to allows us to stretch out the content and the progression and the field progression and your ability to sort of navigate the environments and mitigate obstacles. I'm hired. I'm the right man for this job. Yes, I've made it. Thank you, Archmage. No, but we've got, I think we've got a crew that's background is EQ and in some folks' case more maybe classic WoW or whatever, but gets what our intent here. And so it's really nice working with the team, because I mean, folks get it, and we recognize the things that we liked about EQ in the other sort of early era of MMOs, and we're looking at how best to sort of take that to the take that forward without going the same path that other games sort of took it down, right? So, this is kind of with regards to quality of life and things of that. So, yeah. Kimmery, thank you for 3 months. Sorry for my slow response. Archmage, thank you as well. Might be neat for some levitate abilities to keep you out of the water, for example, but that's it. Water walking. I mean, in theory, we know what the water volume is. So really quirky shit like that is definitely something that I'm hoping we get more in. Kimmery said, absolutely loving the backpack visuals in game. Everything is looking better and better each stream. Amazing work. Thank you on behalf of the team. It's really, I mean, they continue to crank away and you know, keep in mind, we're going to have more options. We've been talking a lot about cloth, and so getting capes and all that stuff. Water walking spell would actually be pretty powerful with so one of the things that I want to try, we'll just sit here and look at this visual. It's actually with the little bit of lights that have been added in. It's pretty dope. Are you guys doing a full backpack system with dropping it for combat camps, etc.? No, not dropping it. We will be working on camps, but I think they'll be defined a little bit differently than maybe you're thinking. But there'll be more info on camps and stuff in the not too horribly distant future, I think. And not camping like camping a monster, but like actual camps. What was I going to say? Oh, water. So, especially now looking at the volume that Ollie put in this really cool volume related to player housing. I just threw that out there to trigger folks and get you discussing that as well. But when he showed the volume, it like basically he showed us yesterday, and it was like pushing the player back to this specific point. Ever since I played Ultima on like the Apple 2E, whatever, the fact that they had a tile for shallow water and a tile for deep water, which constrained your little rowboat, or the tiny skiff to the shallow water. But you could navigate the deep water with an actual ship if you like got one from pirates or whatever. I've been wanting to have that separation in water types. And so that idea of there being basically like deep water or dark water or rough water or whatever, that's separate volume from other water. So you can swim in certain types of water, but then when you hit like the deep water, we've got game effects or different properties associated with that water. With the thing that Ollie just put in, that shouldn't be hard to do at all now. I'm very excited. And I also like the idea of currents. So if you get into a river with like a current that's not very strong, and we want you to be able to easily swim across that current or that river, great. But I really like the idea of ferries and little boats and things, or, you know, like you're just saying, water walk or some other spell effect, enabling you to get across that bigger river that's maybe got a stronger current in it. Just because I like, for whatever reason, maybe I'm just high on my own supply or whatever.
Hi there. Hope all's well.
Hey, Stoic. Thank you for 8 months. Things are good. Yeah, I just, this idea of everybody waiting on the ferry to be able to cross the river, you see it in like so many fantasy movies or shows or whatever. Like where you've got like this gathering point and you're waiting for the ferry to come back. It's like little mini boat situation. Like you're just waiting on the boat, but it's just right over there and you're like, all right, so you guys get together and it's not the full like 30-minute wait or 40-minute wait for the boat, but you just, boom, you get on there and your horses get on there and all that stuff. I'm excited about that. Did I see the Kunark launch day on P99? It was hilarious. I was part of the Kunark launch day on Green. I could have sworn. Yeah. And it was hilarious. And then Velius as well, like hanging out waiting on the boats. I love that. So yeah, anyway. But if everybody can just, you know, with their full backpack of heavy stones and their plate armor and all their other bullshit. If they could just like hop in and swim through every body of water, then it kind of negates the need for that cool little random canoe, like Belfaster was just mentioning. They weren't random, but they could have. Well, they were random as to whether or not anybody left them where they were supposed to be. All right, so what little tiny bit of work did I actually get done today? I put pants on everybody. Everybody. Whoa. Maybe the server just bounced. Yeah, so we're talking about swimming, stamina, sinking based on weight, and some other stuff like that. So you guys, don't worry. Ollie is on top of it. Okay. Oh, so Gary just mentioned new server build deploying right now. Cool. All right. Then I won't show you everybody's pants. So what will I be working on Thursday? Oh, just a heads up, guys. I'll be streaming again on Thursday. Then next week I'll be streaming on Tuesday and maybe Wednesday or Monday and Tuesday. I can blame Pattis. Okay. I blame you, Pattis. But if I'm blaming Pattis, and odds are he added or changed something in art, and that's only a good thing. Chrono said whirlpools get sucked down. Oh, we've got to do that. We've actually got to do that. I loved the whirlpools that would take you into the underworld in Ultima. And since we've got an underworld in the form of the deep, then I think we need to do that. We've talked about like quicksands, maybe doing that in the past, but please don't let us forget that. You fixed Death Valley? Good. It's worth it then. Nicodemus, I'm sure they did. They've got wonderful streams and they're fun to look at because they're doing pretty and cool stuff. But I'm glad that you're glad that I'm back. So next week it's either going to be Monday and Tuesday or Tuesday and Wednesday, because Thursday, Friday, and Saturday I'm going to be at a German heavy metal festival. Rammstein, I don't think is going to be there. Robots get to have all the fun. Well, in all fairness, my vacation consisted of me mainly sitting in a hotel. Though I got to sit in a hotel room for 5 days with my wonderful wife, so I can't complain too much about that. But it is not Wacken, or how do you guys pronounce it? Wacken? It is Reload Festival. Let's see who's going to be there. Reload Festival. I'll have to name this VOD Shawn Just Bullshits for 3 hours. Oh, Reload Festival in Sulingen? Alle akzeptieren. Germans love their heavy metal. You'll probably be there as well. We should meet. Unless you don't want to. If you're shy, that's also fine. But I don't think it's going to be a very big place. And I will definitely be there. And probably be drinking. Completist lineup. Heaven shall burn, arch enemy as I lay dying, Lamb of God, electric callboy, testament. Yes. Glory hammer, raised fist, cannibal corpse. They actually played at the concert. Is that a WoW tattoo? Does he have a WoW tattoo on his forearm? Is that a horde tattoo? That is amazing. Have I ever been to the Bergen Club? I have not. He has an NPC in game? I guess that makes sense. So these guys played at the nightclub that I worked at in DC when I was in the army. And it was amazing because they were up there, and like our club was the biggest sort of indoor venue. If you look on Wikipedia, we were the only club to host the Warped Tour indoors, I believe. I think it was the Warped Tour. But it's only been indoors once. I could have sworn it was the Warped Tour because it got rained out at the US Air Arena, and so they just quickly moved everything into the Capitol Ballroom. And so anyways, it's a decent sized club. So it's concert side's packed, just packed with people to see Cannibal Corpse. And I'm not going to repeat the entire the quote of everything that happened there, because I think there's bad words involved or whatever. But he went off on this like tirade of like, this next song is about somebody that I really love and who's been very instrumental in my life, and you know, blah blah blah. It's just like always been there for me, and I just want this one's for you, Mom. It's called, you know, like it's just like ridiculous. So, but he before he can go into the song's called blah, blah, somebody in the audience is just like calls him some names, I guess, for being emotional or whatever. And then like between the next song, they did it again, but they wound up being a lot of fun. They were a lot of like head swinging circles with a lot of hair falling down on us in security, but they're still fun. Napalm Death. It's good that they Laguna Coil. Yeah, so this will be fun. So Exodus. I like that they got some old bands in here. That's really good. Mr. Irish Bastard. That sounds like a name that Germans would make for a band for sure. There's only 2 of them, so hopefully they're kind of electro. I'll definitely check them out. Nightwish isn't there. Sorry to turn this into a do you know blitz, but no, I mean at this point I've done it myself. I didn't see Nightwish listed. Do I know Ghosts? Yeah, I know Ghosts. To me, Ghost feels like the new Iron Maiden in a sense, right? Like, in terms of like stages and all that other stuff. Yeah, I dig them. They're definitely interesting. I like their music. Heavy Saurus will definitely be on my list to try to see. Anybody that commits to inflatable dinosaur outfits. Yeah, so anyways, that's a very long non-Eminem related way of me saying that I'm not going to be here next Thursday to stream. So next week I'll pick a different day. And then the following Tuesday, I'll need hearing aids. No, I'll definitely have earplugs in. My what is it? Tinnitus or whatever days are over. I've already done enough damage between being into hip hop in the early 90s as a kid and shooting way too many very loud, very fast shooting guns with no ear protection in. I'm good. Any thoughts on the chance of a SMED interview sometime? Sorry to re-ask. I don't know. I could hit him up again and see. Who knows? Maybe he'd be like, oh man, sorry, I really meant to do it the first couple of times I said I'd do it. But between him and Bill Trost, I'm like, I just don't think it's gonna happen. Cool. So the placement, it is no longer penetrating the arm, but we need to rotate it. I don't know if you're out there, Zukin. This was the other bug that I need to write up. Ooh, Ollie interview. Yes, please don't let me forget that. I'll just write it down on my handy notepad. Ollie stream. And if Nick doesn't start streaming soon, then I need to grab a Nick for a stream, and honestly anybody on the team that would like. I'm not trying to leave you out, but I think Nick's background and things he's got to say are things that you guys. I mean, they're all very active in Discord, but I think it's just one of those things that would be good to get more exposure to him. But yeah, Ollie's such an interesting cat. I'm not sure, Aaron. You got to bug him. You got to bug him. So skeleton eyes are working again, but these are the daytime skeletons that are left over. Oh, that's the other bug I got to write up. We need to have skeletons. Well, we need to have basically day-night spawns despawn. So DN despawn to make way for the new spawns. Because in theory it's nighttime now, so he should have glowing eyes and be aggro. And social. Ooh, what did I get here? Cloth belt, thank you. Yeah, it is a kite shield, and it's meant to be rotated. We just fixed the attach point, so I think when the attach point was fixed, it actually got rotated. Any work on the skeleton orgasms, or are we sticking with it? You mean the sound? Here. Hold on. Smart Alec. I should probably load up my abilities. Oh, we're talking to a couple people about animations right now as well. We've been super fortunate to have, interest in helping us on that front. So thank you everybody, if you're out there. And so that'll be a big help. But yeah, I mean, that death sound, I think it's great. So, sorry, that seems like a non sequitur, but I was just looking at some of the placeholder animations I put in and others. My snake wobble. Someone needs to call Jason Trullo. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Do snakes kick? They do. And not only do they kick, they should be playing a kick animation. I'm gonna cheat. Yep. Do we have any kicks in there? Let's try again. Robert is touring the world's most haunted places to bring us an actual audio of the undead. We've given him a big budget for that. Though some of the places that he's been playing at, I wouldn't be shocked if there's some good stuff there. Switch to fist for less damage. Fair enough. Good idea. Let's find another snake. See if we can make one kick. Oh, it said I was invulnerable to the snake's kick? Okay, so it didn't play the animation. We've just redid the animation system. So, I think between redoing the animation system and waiting on animator, yeah. I think maybe some of the animations aren't fully back in or whatever. I could also potentially do this. Let me check this out and I'll show you. Desktop, animations, neck. So it should look like this thing that I'm about to bring up. Potentially. If my computer has the capacity to run Unity and all this at the same time. So that should be what we're seeing. Hope condition of the animator joining the team is that they have to stream a bit. We cannot place such conditions on people. The animation playback was in Houdini. No Twitch Dog, that was in Cascader. So I made that animation in Cascada. You like watching Zukin sculpt a model? It's relaxing, right? I like it because I get to make special appearances during his stream. Yeah, so I need to bug this. I also need to bug. We've got a system in place. I think we mentioned it before where like I can go where is the garrison to a guard? And so he responds here. I don't know, you may be able to see it. So he responds, the garrison, it is not too far from the, not too far to the west from here. And so, if he was much further away from the garrison, it would potentially give a different message. I think we've got like 3 distance indicators, kind of like a con. Where it's like, oh, it's way over there versus not too far or just over there kind of thing. And then it points you in the right direction. And so we can basically, we can build lists of dialogues of that sort, and apply them to various NPCs. And so what we want to do is we want to take that and sort of, we want to extend the functionality that we've got with Nick. Hey, D Love. I couldn't even get your whole name out. Hey, D Loves Pudding. I need to slow down so I can actually pronounce words. Anyways, here's shift. What's up, D? Big D. My favorite D. What's going on? Let's see. I hope vacation was amazing. It was, if, you know what? Watch the VOD. Long story short, we got there. Evening 1 was amazing. Day 1 was amazing. 2 days of scratchy throat, coronavirus was not amazing. 5 days of isolation in a hotel room. Screw it. Cancel the rest of the trip. Fly back to Germany. That was our vacation in a nutshell. But it wasn't as bad as it sounds. It wasn't as bad as it sounds. So it was just one of those like comically, what the. So as I said to folks in here earlier, dude, I've had so many great vacations with Jasmine that one that goes sideways, I don't give a shit. That's life. That's life. Super first world problems. Yeah, so anyway, so like in this situation where, oops, I didn't equip that. I go to a merchant and he doesn't want that particular item. We can set it up so that he could potentially direct us to somebody that might, right? So he's like, I don't want that rusty spear. Maybe so-and-so wants it, right? And he'll give a name, so-and-so. And so then similar, you know, I don't have it hooked up on him yet. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that before Thursday, or we can do it together Thursday. Then I could say, where is so-and-so? And then so-and-so, then he could say, you know, so-and-so is just wherever, you know, essentially the direction and what it's near. I think in the garrison example that I set up here, it doesn't say that it's near anything. But I can also stipulate in the data as like whatever the weapon merchant is in the market, that kind of stuff. So anyway, what is Essence? Essence was originally an idea of kind of going with a Shadowrun-esque natural limiter to maybe play around with twinking or whatever, where if you're using specific like magical gear, it would have an essence value, so it would drain a certain amount of essence from you, and so you know we'd play around with the balance with it. But it wound up, it was just something I had mentioned early on. Ollie threw it in when he's putting in stats, and we're like, nah, I don't necessarily want to. Let's not take that approach. Nick's got some new ideas for how to use essence, but I can't speak to them eloquently enough to mention it here. But if you search in Discord, Nick has some really good answers to what he was picturing maybe using it for. And if we find that it doesn't, we're not feeling it, then we'll just yank it out. Would be cool to see the build from like a year ago, maybe on an M&M anniversary, and the build now side by side, and see how the work's gone in that year. This has come a long way. Yeah, Nicodemus, it's definitely come a long way. I appreciate that. Consider using Unity.system at all before the project started. I can't remember. Ollie's got an answer for that. Will player housing be in this cool city? Quixana? Yeah. So we'll have player housing scattered around the city and the suburbs. And we've got some basic sort of foundational work that just went in for that we were looking at yesterday. Sort of missed the blue pill characters. I know. We'll keep them around in some form or in spirit or whatever. There is something... Belfaster asks, what is one or a couple of your favorite things the team did while you were out? The halfling has to be up there. Yeah, so the halfling's really cool to see. The character stuff... I'm never shocked when we see cool new characters. That's really nice. Let's say the progress on the city's been nice to see. Honestly, when I went through the update, every month when we do the updates, it's always, you know, even if I'm here the whole month, kind of shocking to see what the totality of the work for a month looks like when we put it all together. So, those of you, I don't know, are any of you not on the mailing list at this point? Are you not being made aware of the updates? We're creeping up on 2,000 people on the mailing list. So if you haven't joined, be sure to join. That's one of those things that's a nice metric for us. If you join the mailing list and you don't unsubscribe when we send out updates, it's a great metric. So... I'd seen a bit of this stuff. I can't remember if I'd seen the beginnings of the female character before I left. It's funny, I love Pattis. I was gonna just screen cap it and show you, but I can just show you in real time now. I've got this really cool... Here, I'll make myself disappear so you can see it. I was looking at this, the old temple complex entrance, and oh, I've got it cut off on the bottom so you can't see it actually. I looked down and my search bar in Windows was like this little illustration of Petra, and I was like, are they spying on me? But yeah, I thought it was really cool that these things coincided. Like, I had just been looking at this again when I looked down and saw this and was like, oh shit, that's pretty cool. Oh, Control Shift T. Man, I really love this illustration as well. There's so much fun character. So yeah, one of the things we were talking about yesterday is play testing. And I know it's early in the morning. The stream there may be some nights in the not too distant future where we play at my old stream time. Just because it may be easier for the whole team to be together, like done with work and stuff, and for us to get in a group session. But we definitely want to get in some more group sessions soon and tighten things up on that side in preparation for eventually getting you all in.
Kablamo.
Thank you for 4 months, D, and for all of your other mini generosities. It's kind of squeezing his butt a little bit when he runs. I'm mainly hanging out in first person while we fix up the animations, get everything reintegrated. Oops. My keyboard is now Swedish. Let's try that again. I haven't streamed in a while. My voice has got to get used to it again. But yeah. It is coming together. We are at 4:52 p.m. my time. So I'm going to get ready to wrap things up on this end. Not enough restrooms in Night Harbor. We've got an entire bay over there for you to pee in. So what I'm going to do is, for those of you that are new here that don't know what we're working on, here is the website. As I said before, please join the mailing list. We're creeping up on 2,000 people, and that's really nice for us. We'll, you know, at some point, we'll see how feasible it is, but I've got the feeling that being on the mailing list may be related to, maybe linked to your either access or understanding of when or whatever eventual playtest. So you should be on the mailing list. Let's just put it that way. Let's see. What else do we have? We've got a YouTube where we post VODs of this stuff. And I'm going to do a better job of posting the VODs. This VOD will be an interesting one since it wasn't necessarily all that super Eminem related the whole time. D Loves Pudding just gave out 27 community gift subs, which now we're gonna have to. We'll definitely be sitting and watching all of these fire off. D, did you do that just to be number one on the leaderboard? I think you would have been number one even without 27 of these things. You're definitely number one. What is a gift sub? You're new to Twitch. Basically, you are gifted a month's subscription, Jim Purpo, which really honestly what that means is you get a cool little thing next to your name and you can use some emotes that get unlocked. Oh, and no ads, no ads. That's the big deal. No ads. Oh, Scorn. You definitely threw down the gauntlet on him. Thank you so much. Norden, Not, Slowbot, Geshen, Dargeth, Monotonous, Sklar, Lorxays, Cal, Grimlock, Alabama Jack, Reinen, Promos of Sarin, John, Jezebeli, Demon Injected, Schneid, Diasks, Tikon, Twitch, Jadob, Smashob, Wookie Nookie, ew, Moltka, Enoch, Micah, and Jen Purpo. There you go. Very, very kind of you. Has the new mailing list update gone out? I don't think you got it. It has gone out. Be sure to check if you're using Gmail. It probably either went into promotions or spam. There's some stuff that we can improve on not being labeled spam. We've just got to actually sit down and improve it at some point. But a lot of the big brains that would be going towards improving that aspect of what we do is they're also focused on improving the rest of the game. So been a little slow on that front. And I think a big part of like making that happen is following instructions, and I'm really bad at following instructions. So I'm gonna leave it to Ollie or Keith or somebody. I am ending the VOD. I am ending the VOD, but then you triggered a 27 community sub spam of the thing here, and I was just waiting for it to go. I'm not going to cut it off while there's still robot heads popping up. D. See what you did? So in the meantime, we're going to look at this beautiful Ishuatari. Thank you for your generosity as well. 5 community gift subs, extending the session another bit. Did I know the GM of Strom? I might have known them, but I can't remember who it was. So, Anovis, Cerebrum, Rick James, Superscript, Hexdana. You are also all recipients of the greatest gift on earth. Ooh, this is some nice cold ass coffee. What does the hype train do? I think it does a couple things. Like it unlocks some emotes, but I could have sworn they like sent an update that said like hype trains when they go off. I think it like maybe places you more prominently in the sort of like, if you like this shit, blah blah blah, whatever that's called. I can't think of words when I'm streaming. So generosity like this is why I really am sort of curious to explore the idea of a, you know, we'll continue to research and we'll figure out if it's right for us or if we can even do it or whatever. But I like the idea of potentially providing a cheaper base subscription, a lower cost base subscription, which with then a or pay what you want on top of it. So whatever it is, $5-10 a month, and then you have the opportunity to tip us, and then we'll see if some people's generosity allows other people to come in at the base price and have a good experience. And who knows, maybe some of the people that come in at like the floor price enjoy what they're, you know, enjoy the experience so much that they tip us every once in a while as well. Yeah, there will be a subscription. There will definitely be a subscription. So it's to your point, Lightning. It does help establish a certain degree of commitment in wanting to come in and not just be a troll. So we'll see what the appropriate price is. But it was one of those ideas because we've been thinking standard $15 a month type subscription, but I kind of like the idea of playing around with that. Especially with the current economy, which the current economy I don't think is going to be toss a coin to your loving robot. I wish I could sing. But oh, actually I wouldn't have to. We just need somebody to sing. I could just be brooding. I'm waiting. I want another season of that damn show to come out. I like it. I didn't think I was going to like it. My former boss at the last company said it was horrible and ridiculous. I enjoyed it. But yeah, so I mean, given the state of the world's economies and things of that nature, and then just sort of, you know, in general, if we can pull that off, and find that it you know makes sense for us, then I'd like to be able to do that, and then see if we don't wind up having a nice success story just through having that sort of approach, but then also having a rad community. Horrible and Ridiculous is like every game I ever played. You think God made EQ ogres? Nope. That was the devil. Not true. Not true. They're adorable. Season 2 is better than Season 1. Season 1 was all out of order and was hard to follow. I liked it well enough, but you're right. Season 2 was better. Okay, I think that was it in terms of the notifications. So, enjoyed being back in the saddle with you guys. It was nice catching up with you. Those of you that tuned in late, if you want to see some really random, very kind of like, you'll probably never see it anywhere else, EverQuest swag that I found in my storage room while I was in Texas. Be sure to watch the VOD. You'll skip ahead to it. You'll see it. It's up here. Yeah. I will see everybody on Thursday. I appreciate you guys coming in here with questions and stuff as well, Archmage. And again, I always feel guilty at the end of these because I didn't really get a lot of valuable work done on M&M. Here, I basically just put pants on a few people. But I promise I'll try to get some work done that we can look at on Thursday. Yeah, maybe I'll have a little bit better plan, but I say that every week and I don't. So, I will see you guys on Thursday, same time. Remember, next week's stream schedule will be different, because I'll be gone on Thursday, but we'll still get 2 streams in. I think that covers everything. Join the mailing list. You guys are awesome. It was nice to see everybody again. I really do. I think about you guys, like, and enjoy like talking to you and all of that stuff. So, inflatable dinosaurs are next weekend, not this weekend, but yeah. So it's nice to be back. I will see everybody on Thursday. Ishuitare, bitte sehr, bis Donnerstag, schöne Woche. Bis dann. All right, bye-bye, guys. Where's the off button? There's an off button somewhere here. Oh, there it is. All right. Bye, guys.